I think this is running right now. Welcome to Live at 5:55 with Joseph. I hope you're having an awesome, awesome day today. And today I want to talk about habits. I've done a lot of talking about patterns and paradigms and shifting and how it's not our fault. It's not our fault from our conditioning from our past. We didn't get to choose that. But as we look forward, it's really all about habits. I just saw something I was trying to look up before I got in here today that Tony Robbins had said over the last, I think it was earlier today actually, I saw. And he talked about our success is determined by our habits. It's by the things that we do continually over and over and over. And I think I shared last week in one of the Live at 5:55s that we, reading the same book more than once. It doesn't make logical sense to do so, maybe, to a lot of people. But there's books that I read over and over and over and over again. There's writings that I'll do, and I'll write the same thing over and over and over. Like one of them for me in shifting my money story and my financial story was, I used to have that old pattern and that paradigm that money doesn't grow on trees. And today, that I say, my new story, my new empowering story is that there is so much financial abundance in this world that every living, breathing person could have more than they could ever use, and there would still be an unlimited supply. That's that new story. And to say that over and over and over again, the purpose of doing that is to build that habit, so that when situations and circumstances arrive in my life, that I have a new story I can go to, and building that habit of that. I can't say I do it 1,000%, but I set my alarm clock to get up at 6 o'clock every morning. And I have a process that I go through with reading and writing and different processes I go through, in the morning and I do allow flexibility in my life where I can shift those to different things, but I secure that morning practice, and if it happens to be a day I get up at 7 or 7:30, I still hold true to that morning practice, because that's what determines how I'm going to spend that day. The same thing with habits in our I'll go through the gamut here, our health and well-being. When we build healthy habits of exercising, when we build healthy habits of pushing away that food, I used to do a thing, because again, I struggled with body image issues. I struggled with weight earlier on in life, and I could do so again. The only thing that stops me is I continue to build on these habits, these healthy habits. And so one of the things I used to do is I'd get my meal at dinner time, and I would I'd cut everything in half, and I'd leave it on the plate. And so I'd have whatever the meat I was having, whatever the starch, whatever the vegetable was, and I'd have like 2 sections of each one, equal quantities. And I would eat half of everything. And then from there, I would take a minute and decide, do I still need more food? And if I did, I would go for the healthy. I'd go for the carbs or the proteins over the start, the potatoes and starches and things like that. And so I'd go for the vegetables and things like that. And then I'd eat more. And what that did over time is it helped me to build habits that then I could look at that, and I didn't have to separate anymore, but I could just go by that feeling I found out when I was comfortable. One of the things I knew from back then is I would eat until I was full. And then 15, 20 minutes later, I'd be stuffed. And when you eat meal after meal after meal like that, it ends up leading to added weight. And then when you take a lot of travel and lack of exercise and such. So it's all about building healthy habits, And so many people think that they look at where they perceive themselves to be right now, and then they look at where they want to be, and they just think that gap is so far. But that gap is really only one healthy habit away. With relationships, I talked yesterday and the day before about relationships and such, and how our paradigms can come up in just one person. I'm a firm believer in that it takes 2 people to have a healthy relationship, and it takes 1 person to break it. I'm a firm believer in that. And so when we look at those patterns, those paradigms and such happening in our relationships, and we look at the habits that we have built into that, taking like somebody for granted, one of the quickest shifts we can make with relationships is shift things into appreciation over expectations. You ever notice when we get into, when maybe you experience the same thing? It used to be for me, I would get into a relationship and I'd have so much appreciation for that person. I wouldn't even know really who that person was, but I'd have so much appreciation for them. And I'd get into the relationship and I would continually show that. And then eventually me and that other person or whatever, or me would start shifting. And all of a sudden now I have expectations, or we have expectations on people. So many of the relationships I work with, couples that I work with on relationships, is it's just that. That's such a powerful place, is living in a place of appreciation for that person rather than expectations. So that's that relationship side. So a healthy habit in that area. What would that look like for you? What would a healthy habit look like in your relationship? And maybe you had those at one time, and maybe you still do, and that's awesome too. But if you're struggling at all in that area, what's a healthy habit that you can create there? And I'll tell you, if you're single, for a lot of years when I was single, one of the things I would do in regard to those habits is I would have healthy habits on how am I going to love myself? How am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to be healthy for myself? How am I going to be wealthy in my relationship with me? And so that's that area. Your vocation, your job, you may be at a point where you love what you do, and that's awesome. You may be at a point where you're just doing it and it's a daily grind and you just kind of accepted that and you're moving into it. If you could do something else, you would, but this is your lot in life and you're following through. And if you're there and you're okay with that, that's okay too. And you may be one of those people who just can't stand going to work. You can't stand being at work. You can't stand that. And healthy habits there, one of the things I've learned in any area of my life is when I leave it in love, when I leave it in respect, it helps me to move into that next phase with even more excitement, and it comes upon quicker. So even if you're in a job that you can't stand doing, what are some healthy habits you can implement in that can drive your mindset, that can drive that wealth mindset inside of you, that you can apply on a daily basis to start living better in that situation right there? Because that's the surest way of moving into the next phase, whatever that is for you. So what are some healthy habits you can apply at your workplace, or your job, or what you do? And then our time and money freedom. And this time with this, Corona going on and everything that's going on around us is just really, really shifting things, tightening things up financially for so many people. And I understand that. And I even understand why, but my understanding of why is based on how I was raised, with watching my parents struggle and then moving into my adulthood and struggling that same way. I've also come across a lot of people who are just jamming right now financially. They are stockpiling, they're building, they're growing, they're expanding. So what's the difference between those people and the people struggling? I used to think it was for a lucky few, or that they were somehow gifted, or they had some kind of leg up than I had and such like that. But it's not. What I've learned and what I continue to experience over and over and over in my life is it's that mindset. It's those healthy habits. It's getting into that place of understanding what it can happen. It's the visions. It's all the stuff I've been talking about. And if you're not experiencing that in some areas, just look at your life. You can look at what area of your life are you most discontent right now, and then look at what are your habits there. That'll help you as your guide as far as moving forward into implementing that. I get a lot of people who say, oh, I got a healthy habit, now I'm good to go. That's a door opener. That's great, but it is a journey into that transformation. I used to have a friend tell me, you walk 20 miles into the forest. You got to get out, you got to walk that 20 miles back. There's effort, and there's continuous tools and support and really proven programs to help you, just launch into that next phase of who you are, who you become. And it's all the result based on what you do today, your actions today, your habits today, the thoughts you think, the words you speak. They all create what you experience tomorrow. No matter what, there's nothing you can do about that. That's automatic. It happens no matter what. Where you can differentiate is what habits are you going to grab hold of just for today, which ones are you not going to. What self-thought are you going to grasp today and run with? You know, what words are you going to entertain? What words are you going to help grow and expand? You know, I was working with a client earlier today, and they were talking about how they have this thing they're trying to create, and they keep getting bogged down into the why they can't, what the problems are, what the hiccups are, they tried it before and failed, and maybe you can relate to that. I know I can. I've been down that path. He's right in my wheelhouse in how I used to live my life. But today we have other choices. Our past does not have to dictate our future. The good news about that is only we get to decide that our past is not going to dictate our future. The bad news about that is only we can decide that our past isn't going to dictate our future. And I'll tell you, if you're able to set that down and you just put some focus on what are those habits that you're living by today, you can get so much awareness, so much insight into bringing about a whole different tomorrow. So I hope this was helpful. I want to thank everybody. I see some people joining in here. I got to look over at my computer screen. So Lee, it's good to see you. It's good to see everybody joining and connecting and all the comments coming in. So let me ask you for today, what's one habit that you absolutely love that you have? What's one habit you love that you have? And let's build on that. Now, the Ignite Success Institute Facebook page is growing like crazy. It's so awesome to watch this happen and see everybody showing up for it. And we're sharing motivation, inspiration. And starting next week, we're going to be kicking off a live session that we're going to do in there. It's going to be opened up, a question and answer session. I'll do a little bit of talking on something, but then it's really to open it up and do on-spot coaching for anybody who's struggling with any of these principles, anybody who's really successful with any of these principles, and to share that. And whether it's you that you want to bring something to that session and other people will learn, grow, and expand from what you bring, or even with what other people bring into there, you can learn, grow, and expand from them. So if you haven't, select the join button and we'll give you access to that, and you can start right away in there, introduce yourself, start chiming in on leaving some comments, likes, things like that in there, and just really building this community of inspiration, motivation, tools, processes, and paths to help you live a better life. So I hope you have a blessed day today. Don't forget to leave your comment. What's your most favorite healthy habit that you have? Be well, and God bless.